Alright guys, nice to see you. Welcome to this new channel where I'm going to share you the tips and tricks on how to get faster with your go-kart, especially for the kids that are just starting out between like 6 to 12, 13 years old. That kind of age range where they can really define their success. So I believe these tips I'm going to give you are proven because obviously I've been being a racing driver myself for like 15 years, and obviously now I'm managing the team. It's called BabyRace. You must know that. Me and my brother are managing it, and I'm specifically working on the performance side of it. So I've got tons of experience, years behind my shoulders, working with drivers with the data and finding extra performance gain every single day. So today what we're going to talk about is the field of braking. That's probably one of the biggest mistake, or a lack of braking. It's one of the biggest mistake that drivers do, even though I would say most of them don't even realize that, or they don't really put the effort at acknowledging that issue. So today I'm going to show you a data comparison between two drivers at Sarno from last week, where we won the championship in the under 10 category, and we finished P2 in the GR3 category, unfortunately, because we didn't have a really great final. We had P1, P2 and P3 in the pre-final, but then in the final our drivers kind of screwed up. And so yeah, what I don't want to digress. Let's first look at the data chart, and I'm going to show you what I mean with a lack of braking. So for those ones that know Sarno, it's a pretty high grip circuit, especially with the Vega tires. There's not many braking spots, but there's three basically. There's one, it's in turn 2, all right, over here. There's one in turn 8, the back straight. And then there's the last corner, which is now being changed. And it basically you arrive really fast here, about like 110, under 9 kilometers an hour. And you kind of slam on the brakes, even though the tires are very grippy compared to like the MGs or the Comet tires. These tires still require you to brake hard. Obviously, you know, it doesn't mean that, oh, the tires have got so much grip, the track has got so much grip, like people was going even on 2 wheels on Wednesday and Thursday. It was quite crazy actually. But that doesn't mean you don't have to brake efficiently, okay? Because there's a big misconception with people, there's a lot of grip on the track, there's no need for me to brake hard. That's not true at all, actually. In these cases, I would say that the more grip there is, the more you have to use the brakes. Even though obviously when the track is slippery, you also have to use them a lot. So I would just say you need to be, as a racing driver, judging every single time you're on the track, what is the maximum braking efficiency you can have based on how grippy or slippery there is, and you have to aim for that. So let's not digress and let's look at the chart. So what we can see here is that the yellow is a kid that was it's been winning races this year. It's really quick. I don't want to say names, you know, I'd like to keep everything kind of private, but you can see that the yellow kid has been doing a very good job here. You can see that actually I'm gonna use this tool to show you. All right, so actually let me erase everything. So let me show you. Here's the RPM trace, here's the speed trace, and here the exhaust temperature trace, for those ones who are not familiar with that. So this is basically showing you the exhaust temperature, so kind of like when you're going on a throttle and the carburation wise. This is the RPMs, so we have the limit at 14,000 here in Mini, and I don't know about wherever you are. I think, well, with the Rock and all the other Ayami, there's no real limit there, but with the GR3 and under 10, there's a limit at 14,000. So, and here's the speed. Actually, let me do a quick thing. Let me remove the TK, so the exhaust temperature, because we don't really need it for this purpose. So we're gonna have a look at the braking efficiency. How do we do that? So I want to show you this. I'm gonna write down. So let's make the red. Let's look at the red. The red is the wrong example. Why? Because the red is hitting the brakes earlier, okay? He's hitting the brakes earlier and he's decelerating not aggressively at all, okay? So it's not using the grip of the brakes, the grip on the track, and it also results in the RPM. You can see the RPMs, forget about this, is like RPM, when you touch the RPM, sometimes it does this kind of thing. So don't forget about that. That's not actually a braking. The braking starts here, and the braking is very shallow. You can see it's very soft. I try to reproduce it. It's very, very soft, especially in the beginning. Then they kind of match each other in this area. You see they're quite even, because in this point, I will show you in the map where we are. In this point, we're basically rolling into the corner. Okay, so we're almost done with the brakes and rolling a little bit of speed into the corner. Obviously you want to reduce it as much as possible, but you still have to have that kind of rolling phase in go-karts. In cars it's a bit different. You want to have it like less, but in karting you still have to have it a bit. So let's go back to it. You can see, except that, let me go back because we don't really need that. Look at the difference between the yellow, all right, which is so much more sharper on the brakes. Pam, so sharp. Okay, and it reflects obviously on the speed. You can see the speeds, the slope. Oops, I'm not very good at drawing. All right, I'll try my best, but you can see this, the slope or the speed is definitely more yeah, diagonal, I would say, more like vertical. Let me actually try to use this one. Oops, nah, it's pro, I cannot use that. I have to upgrade for that. So, but you can see it's more sharp, it's more steep. So you can tell. You see any difference here? Like they're merging. The two speed lines, they're merging. All right. And what is interesting is that obviously it's all due to the fact that the kid in the yellow is braking so much later, and it's braking so much harder. It's not later. Actually, I misspelled. It's not correct, because if you brake late but you don't have a good efficiency, like in this case the red, okay, you're gonna miss the apex completely. You're gonna outshoot you're gonna have a really bad exit as well. So let's go back to it. You can see the two lines are completely different. And if you look at in terms of meters, obviously, you know, we don't have the brake pressures, unfortunately, so we don't have this kind of sense. We cannot, well, we have them, but we cannot use them in the race, because in the race it's not allowed. So you don't have any kind of way to tell exactly when you're braking, but we can assess it with the RPMs. So with the RPMs, when you see that the RPMs are going down like sharply, that's when you're braking typically. So we have to kind of guesstimate, and then obviously we have to kind of align, like, you know, it's not always perfect, because, you know, I'm like here, I'm shifting, you know, I'm shifting back and forth. Like if some drivers are doing more meters than the others, I have to shift them. So it's not always perfect. It's not always exact science where we brake, but with 90% confidence, I can always guess pretty well where the driver is braking. And in this case, I can see that the yellow driver is braking at 550. That's 550 meters. Whereas the red driver is braking a bit earlier. It's 544. It's 6 meters earlier, which obviously is huge. If you think about it, 6 meters is huge. And I think it's quite realistic as a thing. And you can see in this very early phase of the corner, we have a speed difference of 4 kilometers an hour. It's like 105 to 109. I can show you this as more advanced. I can show you the time loss on the pure braking. Look at this. This is very nice. All right. You can see the time loss. It's 412 minus 396. If you make the calculation, it's 1600. So it's 1.6 tenths lost on the pure braking. And you can see the speed difference across the whole braking. You know, it's huge. It's like 108 against 102 at some point. Just 6 kilometers difference. And then we still have the minimum speed difference at the apex, but that's due to another reason, and the reason is because it makes a better line. If you look at it here, the yellow opens up the line a little bit more, and so he's able to carry more speed at the apex. So as I said, this guy is gaining a lot. In this case, it's 1.6 tenths on the braking only, but if you then shift the exit, if we include the exit that the red gets, I mean, it's pretty good up until here, I would say, then it's not that much. It becomes 1.3 tenths. So 635, I guess 632, it's 1.3 tenths difference. Okay, so that is quite interesting, I would say. You can see actually the delta goes from 35 to like 41. Obviously, delta, I don't really rely too much on the delta. It's sometimes accurate, but sometimes not so accurate. So I prefer using, as I showed you, the split measure between two points. I think this one is more relevant. By the way, for the ones that are not aware, not familiar with this software, it's called Starlane Math. All right, MAAT. I can show it in the link below and in the description below. Sorry. So yeah, okay. So this is one corner. Let's have a look at the other braking spot across the track. So this is the other one. It's turn number 8. Up until here, the delta is half a second off. All right. We come out of the corner. It's another half a tenth chunk. And consider that the red has more slipstream because this kid was leading the race. The yellow, this is a lap from a kid that was leading the race. And I will not tell exactly what race, but he was leading a race and he actually ended up winning that specific race. It was not the final. But yeah, this kid obviously is arriving with a little bit less speed, all right, less RPMs. But look at how much later he's able to brake. It's sensational. He's able to brake, I would say, confidently between like this point or this point. I would say 1094, that's where he brakes. Compared to the other kid in red that he brakes at 1087. So it's about, for the ones that are good at math, 7 to 8 meters difference is huge, literally huge. And once again, let's have a look at the slope. If you look at the slope of the yellow, look how nice and aggressive it is. It's very, very aggressive. It goes down, especially the first part. Instead, look at the red slope. So like the deceleration is so much less effective. You see, they end up combining each other like this area, this spot somehow. Because why? Because the red realizes it's too early on the brakes, and therefore what he does is braking and then he's coming off the brakes into the corner, and then also look consequentially he also starts to turn in early. You see, in this area he turns a little bit earlier in this point. So it's very detrimental for the speed overall, even though he still gets a decent exit because obviously he can get on power early, but it's not compensating for the speed lost on the brakes, for the time lost on the brakes. You can see once again, look at the RPMs, look at the shape. It's very shallow in this point. It's actually crossing over, whereas the yellow is so much deeper on the brakes and it's so much harder. It's locking. Is on the limit of locking here. Actually, it's not locking very much. I will show you in other videos what it means locking up. He's on the edge of locking actually. I believe he's slightly locking the tires. Like why do I say this? Because when I see kids locking up the tires hard, very hard, the RPM strays go down like that. Sorry, it's not right like that. It goes down like vertically, like literally like that. Pam. It goes down like that. Okay, I'm not really good at drawing, but you get my point. It goes down like that, and then they come off the brakes, and it's like this, right? It's literally like that. Actually, I will draw it again into the side, so it will be like that, like, and it's like pack, like this, right? Whereas now it's like, right now the yellow, so like what is like almost like that. You see. It's not fully locking, but it's slightly locking. So it's still very good. Obviously, the kid ended up winning that kind of race. So he did a really good job. But my point being, look how much we lost. If I show you, look how much the red lost in terms of lap time on the braking only up until the apex. Look. You went 279 and 265 for the ones good at math. If you take this and then you do minus this, 79 minus 65, you lost 1.4 tenths, so 14 hundredths. And look at the speed difference across the whole entry of the corner. Okay, it's quite huge. All right, and obviously there can be a little bit of offset. You know, you can always argue, oh, there's a bit of offset, you know, but how much can that be? 1 meter difference, 2 meters difference? Yeah, I wouldn't say more. And because he gets such early braking, look, he comes off the brakes at this point, right? Let me show you. He comes off the brakes at this point and he's rolling the speed into the corner, okay? And he's basically making the car flat, like we call it. So it's not giving the car any rotation at the apex, giving him a pretty big difference in terms of speed at the apex compared to the other kid. I will show you exactly how much. And eventually he ends up turning it early, because what is the second biggest mistake drivers do when they obviously brake early? Automatically they turn early. Like they brake early, turn early, and they get a bad minimum speed and sometimes also bad exit. In this case, doesn't get a bad exit. It's actually quite decent. But yeah, in this case, the damage is done on the entry mid. Okay, if actually I show you here how much earlier we turned in. Obviously, don't get this GPS is not always right. Just to warn you, it's not always perfect, the GPS. There's always be like a little bit of shifts, but now after a few years of working with it, it's kind of giving me like an idea of how realistic it is or not. And you can see here the difference at the apex in terms of speed is 6 kilometers. That's huge. It's huge. And obviously all of that speed at the apex makes a difference. I think it's actually more like that aligned. Yes. You can see that. You know why? Because you can see at this spot the delta goes up a little bit. So that's when it's crossing. So this is even worse. So like what we saw before was bad, but now looking at this is actually even worse, because the kid is literally, let me show you. Let me actually erase everything. Yeah, in this area, the kid is actually releasing the brakes and so much that he's actually going too fast in this point. You see the red is above the yellow. And because of that, it's like having a little bit of like understeer, and like he's over the limit, and because of that, it gets really bad mid speed, and it doesn't really gain anything back on the exit. So let's now look at the last quarter. We have different compared to, I would say, most of the rest of the teams. I would say we just set the splits where we like the best, to like look at the top speed, like to look at the straight line sectors and etc. But okay, I don't want to digress. But so we can see that obviously the start finish is here, actually here, right? But we like to have our lap times beacon before the last corner. In this case, typically we like to have it just beginning of the last, but in this track we like it to have it here for some reasons. So you can see again the difference in braking. Okay, it may seem like in this case the guy went for a move. I won't believe that the red guy went for a move, because the time loss here is huge, even more than the others. But again, if you go for a move, would you brake earlier or would you brake later? I would brake later. I don't know about you, but yeah, you can see how much of a difference there was in terms of speed on the entry. All right, we were going like 88, 94, so 6 kilometers there, 7 kilometers difference here, 7 kilometers difference there, and 6 kilometers difference. And at the apex, which is about here, we got 3 kilometers still. So overall time lost 2.5 tenths, 25 hundredths. It's huge. And look again at the slope of the braking. It's really bad. I'll write it down again. Let's erase everything. Look, the red is basically hitting the brakes here, and then this area is coming off almost completely. It's not locking. It's so far away from locking the tires. So far away. Compared to the yellow that actually is very, very late, very, very hard pump, smashes the brake, crosses over, and here it kind of comes off a bit, but he still holds on to them more than the other guy. And obviously then there's the rolling phase, which is obviously key to keep high minimum speed. And there's a lot of grip in this track, especially on Sunday and Saturday, so we had to kind of roll a bit of speed at the apex, so we get to come off the brakes a bit. But the first part of the braking is key. You can see how much this guy gained over the other on the brakes, which is what I hope obviously all our drivers do, and also what I hope all you guys can achieve as well. So this was a clear demonstration how much you can lose or gain on the pure braking only. We saw in this corner, if you look at, right, let's actually make a real comparison. Like, let's look from entry to exit. So in this case we have 23 hundredths, so it kind of gains back a little bit on the exit, but I would say it's mostly slip trim, so I would not really consider that, because you see everything like the red is in the slipstream compared to the yellow, because obviously the yellow is leading. So there's 2.5 tenths difference. That's where we lost in this corner. Now let's look at the other braking, how much we lost. Here was a bit less, if you remember. was not that much, but it was still quite a bit. Here is 1.7 tenths, so if we add them up, it's 4200, so 4.2 tenths pure loss on the brakes up until now. And now let's look at the turn 2 that we looked first, and let's look how much we lost here overall. From there to here, it was 1.5 tenths, so we lost 4200 plus 1500, we got to 5700, so 5.7 tenths lost in just 3 braking spots. Thankfully we only had 3 braking spots, because the others are very marginal, like turn 5 here, but you can see they're still like very inefficient on the brakes. Then all the other corners here in Sauna, for the ones that know the track, they're quite fast actually, and there's mostly flat corners, or they're just like small tap on the brakes like in turn 10 and 11. So this was I believe a good realization for most kids that are not thinking about too much on about improving their braking technique. They have to work, I would say, so much on that. Like everyone who's starting in karting has this issue, like literally everybody. Nobody has bored legendary or yeah, like you know, it's not as easy as like that, you know. Everyone struggles at first, but acknowledging that you have this issue and this, you know, like weakness is good. It is a first step to actually conquering this mistake and actually becoming a better driver. So I highly encourage you to work a lot with data. I mean, if you're watching this and you are the driver, then I highly encourage you to put so much focus and dedication towards your braking. And instead, if you're like the dad or the mother of the kid that's watching this video, then I highly encourage you to always use like data analysis, like to make sure the team or the coach or the mechanic, whoever is doing good data analysis to show this, to see these things, to see if there's any progress from day to day, from session to session. And because obviously braking is such a major skill that in motorsports is I would say the fundamental to being quick. Like when you go up to the ladders and you go up to formula cars, it gets even more important, I would say. So becoming a really late braker and a strong braker is key. And I would say it's never enough, the focus and the dedication you can put on improving your braking. So I hope this guys was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.